name is Matt Davey. I'm the Solutions Architect for Telect Networks. Telect builds a cloud-managed LAN solution that enables service providers to deliver enterprise LAN as a service to their customers. What we're demoing here at the Open Networking Summit is an integration we've done with the Brocade virtual router that enables service providers to deliver virtual CPE that is fully integrated with the management of the wireless and the wired Ethernet services in an enterprise LAN, such as a branch office or a small and medium business. So the user interface you see on the screen right now is our cloud portal. This is where an enterprise IT manager or a service provider would come to manage the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet services for an enterprise LAN that they're providing services to. So the model is that a device would be adopted, it would be plugged into the network, automatically adopted to the cloud, and then fully managed through the cloud solution. This solution is fully based on software-defined networking and OpenFlow and virtual network overlays. It also now integrates virtual network functions, which is what we're demoing here today. So what I'm going to show you is how to bring up a branch office or small and medium business and then enable a virtual router, virtual CPE environment running in a cloud in the service provider's data center. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new site. So this is what a service provider or an IT manager would do when, say, they're deploying a new branch office for a customer. There's a Google Maps integration where I pick the site. I'm going to call this the Santa Clara Convention Center. I have to give it a contact and an email address of who's going to be responsible for that site and save it. Now at this point I have a site set up for that customer. The next thing I need to do is actually go and order the devices that are going to go there. So I may need an Ethernet switch or a wireless access point. So this is the interface you would see where you go order the equipment. You can see here we have a Wi-Fi access point, we have an Ethernet switch, but we also have this thing called a Brocade vRouter 5600. This is actually a virtual network function that's going to run in the service provider's data center. So either an OpenStack or a VMware NSX or any other virtualization platform they would run. So I'm going to order it right here. So I'm going to order one of the virtual routers and one of the access points. It's a typical shopping cart screen. You're going to walk through where to ship them and what to do, and I'm going to place the order. Now when I place the order, two things happen. An order goes to our fulfillment center to actually order an access point, because that's physical and needs to be shipped to the customer's location. But it also goes into the virtualization environment, into the service provider's cloud, and spins up a new instance of a virtual router, a Brocade virtual router. So that's going to happen dynamically as I'm doing this. It's turning on. So I'm going to click done. Now I'm going to come up here to my screen where I do monitoring. And you can see now I have two devices that are part of this site. You see this one here is a Brocade virtual router. It's in the process of spinning up in the cloud hosting environment that we have set up for the demo. And this other one is the access point. So they have to power on and they have to get adopted into the network. It takes about 30 to 60 seconds for all this to come up and get running. When that happens, you'll be able to fully monitor and configure the virtual router as well as your Wi-Fi, and if I had provisioned switches, those as well, all through one environment. So instead of having one portal for a virtual CPE environment where the customer goes to configure their virtual router with their service provider in a completely separate user interface where they're managing their LAN, we fully integrated those two components together. You can see on the user interface here, my Brocade virtual router is now up and online. As soon as it spun up, it phoned home to our cloud and got connected. If I go in here, I can see the model number, MAC address, its IP address, software version. I have no clients currently connected. I get a list of ports that are on there and their status and what's connected to those. So full management of the virtual router all done through here. If I come back to the other interface, let me go ahead and do a refresh for the sake of the demo so you can see that come back up again and get the access point connected. You see the access point has come up, same sorts of information. So I get the utilization, I see all the overview information about the access point, so I can monitor both the LAN components, Wi-Fi access points, and the Ethernet switches, along with my virtual CPE that's running back in the service provider cloud, all from one location. Customer can order virtual network functions from the same interface and integrate those there. So now that that's up, I'm actually going to go configure the network. So I'm going to come to back to my devices. I'm going to go to my virtual router, and I'm going to do something called assign this as a gateway. It makes this virtual router capable of being a gateway or a firewall and router for virtual networks here. I'm going to assign that and enable it. Now that is capable of being a virtual router for this particular customer site, which is the Santa Clara Convention Center. And now I'm going to configure virtual networks. So this works very much, virtual networks in our LAN infrastructure works very much like the OpenStack Neutron API in an OpenStack data center, and that I'm defining logical tenant networks, but I'm not actually configuring underlying physical network. I just define the logical network, and that all gets configured. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to pick as a potential router the Brocade V router that's running back in the service provider cloud. So that's one piece. I can then go configure the IP subnet for this virtual network, the DHCP parameters, the DNS parameters, all the layer 3 IP parts of a virtual network can get configured here. Now in this case, my access point is out in a customer site somewhere, and my router is back in the service provider data center. So I'm actually going to use an SSL VPN tunnel to bridge those two things together. Now since I'm cloud managing both ends of a secure tunnel, I can actually, through the cloud, automatically generate all the certificates and push those certificates out to the end. It's the easiest secure tunnel link that you'll ever configure. It's all done automatically through the cloud. Now I want to add Wi-Fi to this particular virtual network, so I'm going to create an SSID. There are a lot of different Wi-Fi parameters I can configure here. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to make this very easy. I'm just going to set up an open Wi-Fi network that anyone can connect to, so you can see that working. So that's all there is to the virtual network. You notice that I didn't configure any VLANs. I didn't configure any switch ports that would tag those VLANs or anything like that. There's no underlying plumbing to configure in the network. We have, just like the OpenStack Neutron API, we abstract all of those to a higher level, and you're just configuring the virtual tenant network here. So I'm going to go ahead and go configure that. It's now gone out, and it takes about 10 seconds. It'll configure both ends of that link, and that will come up. I'll go back to my monitoring screen here. And in a few seconds, you'll see another port added. You see there's 2 ports right here on the Brocade router today. You'll see a third one added, which becomes that SSL VPN tunnel that was created down to the access point. Now, an important thing to point out here is that all of this that you see that I've done in this user interface is entirely built on a REST API to our controller. So those REST APIs are exposed to all of our customers and partners, and they can go and integrate this system in with their existing systems. So everything in this user interface is built on SDN, it's built on a REST API. So our customers and our partners can go out, if they have, say, a customer portal, a service provider has a customer portal where they're already showing them their, say, their WAN interface. If they have a gateway, a broadband connection from the provider, they can have maybe a customer portal where they log in and they see their WAN utilization, can look at their tickets they have open with the carrier. They can fully integrate all this configuration for the customer right into that same interface, because it is all based on SDN. It's all based on APIs that are driving all of this.